Hey, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching. It would mean the world to us if you could just scroll down, like, hit the subscribe button for the Snaps YouTube channel. It goes a long way towards helping us out. Now, let's dive into some college football. Bruce Feldman came out with his top 25 coaches in all of college football, and it's an interesting top 10. Now, it should be noted, it comes with a pretty large caveat. If you have not been a major head coach for 3 years, Bruce Feldman would not put you on this list. So no Dan Lanning, no Mike Elko, no John Sumrall. And Lanning, probably most impactful name because he should likely be on anybody's top 10 list right now, in my opinion. Here are Bruce Feldman's ranking as they sit. Number 1, Kirby Smart. No surprise there. Unanimous, obvious. Number 2, Dabo Swinney. All of a sudden, a little interesting. Number 3, Lance Leipold. Number 4, Kalen DeBoer. 5, Ryan Day. 6, Brian Kelly. 7, James Franklin. 8, Kyle Whittingham. 9, Lincoln Riley. 10, Mike Norvell. And he has Sarkisian at 11, right on the outside looking in. First off, I think Lanning should absolutely be in the top 10, even though Clint says Lanning record versus Washington, Wazoo, and Oregon State wasn't very great. I think it's a program that's moving in the right direction. Just look at whatever we've talked about playing on the show, the recruiting, the results. I would have probably put Lanning at around 10. Yeah, I think I would. I think I would have put Lanning at 10 if I had to take somebody off of this list. Actually, that does become a bit tougher. I would take Lincoln Riley off. I think Lincoln Riley had a bad enough year, and the direction is bad enough, and there's enough questions surrounding him where I could have him at 11 or 12 outside looking in. Bit surprised Kiffin isn't in there, Jor. That's a good point as well. Obviously, so I'd see this list, and what jumps off to me is like, oh my God, Dabo Swinney at 2. What the fuck? This thing is awful. But then you start saying, okay, who would you put over him, right? And it's like, well, I maybe would have put Kalen DeBoer, but I guess we haven't seen how he'll recruit at Alabama, how consistent he can be there year to year. He was incredible his 2 years at Washington, but maybe Dabo Swinney's time at Clemson still trumps that. I would absolutely put Ryan Day ahead of Dabo Swinney. Zero problem with that whatsoever. Ryan Day would likely be second on my personal list. I think the Ryan Day slander has just taken on a life of its own and is a bit crazy at this point. I could argue Brian Kelly over Swinney. But even then, I think you got to get into a lot of nuance, right? You got to be like, well, Brian Kelly is the number 1 recruiting class for 25. He seems to have adapted to this current age of football better than Swinney has. I guess the problem with Swinney being this high on the list is his resume is going to be hard to argue against any of the guys. But if this was like soccer and you were talking about current form, he would be way down the list because he has absolutely refused to adapt. Clemson had their worst year by far last year. I don't see a ton of reasons why they should be better this year. So I think the biggest takeaway here actually is reinforcing just how much of a void is left by Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh leaving in terms of having your certified names that everyone believes to a man are elite. Like in the past, you pretty much, especially like, let's say Harbaugh and Saban have returned this year. I guarantee every top 5 list would have started with some mixture of Smart, Saban, Harbaugh, every single one of them. And it would have been right in doing so. Now, Kirby Smart is the only unanimous pick. After that, like I said, you can make an argument for Dabo 2. You can make an argument for Day at 2. You can make an argument for DeBoer at 2 if you wanted to. Any of these names, and you would actually have some legitimacy there. Optimus Climb says you'd have Mike Norvell higher. I definitely had Norvell over Lincoln Riley. It becomes a bit tougher after that. I'd have him over James Franklin. Remember, Mike Norvell was my answer for my favorite, their last week's mailbag favorite head coach, OC DC trio. It's what they have at Florida State. But I don't know that I put him over Kyle Whittingham yet. And then I'd probably put him behind Kelly, Day, DeBoer, Leipold, Swinney, and Smart. Although nobody has more potential to climb on these lists than does Mike Norvell. because if he keeps this Florida State program as good as they've been the last couple of years or damn near it, after suffering the grievous injustice that they did, I cannot explain to you how impressive that is. It's not just the results, it's surviving a wound that is so deep that it has the potential to fester and and really rot a program from the inside out. Um, who are you talking about here? Okay, Colin Moore Madden says Kiffin is top 10. I'm a biased Ole Miss fan, but I mean, come on, he's top 10. I think in the past his weakness was Saban. He tried too hard anytime he played them, but he's a good team this year and should be very good. Okay, if we wanted to put Kiffin in, okay, so let's say we put Lanning in here, we get rid of Riley. If we want to put Kiffin in, who goes out? I guess it has to be Whittingham. I mean, maybe Lance Leipold's doing too much here, given that him and Kiffin have both done kind of similar things and that they've done things that have never been done at schools before. Leipold's probably a bit too high. Uh, I would barely have Whittingham pushed out for Kiffin, and I could put Kiffin at 10. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Right. Uh, Ole Miss had never won 10 games before. They never done it twice. They won 11 games the first time in school history. They look like a certified playoff team coming this year. Yeah, I agree, Con. I agree, Con. I would put Kiff at 10. And yeah, I would have Brian Kelly in the top 5. I would have Leipold in the top 5, though I love what he's done. I wouldn't have him in the top 5.